We're just doing a little bit of exploring today. We're near Fergus Falls, Minnesota, and there's a lot of lakes in this general area, but basically we're just going to a lake that neither Tony Mariotti or myself have fished in a long time. I haven't fished this lake in probably for a couple of years, but basically what we're doing is we're just cruising good looking spots. Neat thing about a lot of these spots, a lot of these lakes, is they don't get a lot of pressure. And the beauty of it is if it looks fishy, chances are there's fish in it. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to find good looking cover, and we're just casting spinnerbaits, just trying to find some fish. And once we find them, we can always make a few adaptations. There. Whoa! Turn and burn, huh? Wow.
Beautiful fish.
Yeah, that's cool. That fish just came up with like an ice cream bucket come out of the water when that fish hit. Just burning that spinner bait right underneath the surface. Look at that fish go. There. Try to get a thumb on her lip. Yeah, respectable fish. There, look at that. No, we're just kind of in search mode. I love fishing for largemouths, and I tell you what, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, there's so many great bass fishing opportunities and so many lakes with good bass in them, and I just love just going out and exploring, picking a lake on the map and just going out and fishing it. And a lot of times, the least you know, the better. But you know, how do you find fish? Just picking a lake on the map. You know, basically what we're doing is we're just going through here and we're just burning spinnerbaits fast, just trying to find some life. And so you're just trying to cover water. Once we find some areas that are producing fish, we can always change our tactics. But for finding fish, you just can't beat a spinnerbait.
Yeah, Jason, absolutely. These spinnerbaits, as far as looking for a search lure to go to, it's pretty tough to beat them. Whether you're fishing off a shore, off a dock, or in the boat, they're such a versatile bait because I can actually, you know, kind of position them where I want. If I want to run them above the weed line and kind of keep it right on the surface and wait for something to attack, you can drop it down and slow down your retrieve a little bit and let it sink just with the weeds. Right now I'm just kind of burning them back, and if I see I get a weed hooked up on it, you know, you can just give it an extra little twitch and you're right back to having a true running bait.
There we go. Little guy. Well, it's a fish, it's life.
You're finding them.
Yeah, it's a sign. Oh, he got it.
Did he?
Yep.
Right up there in the slop, hey?
Boy, that one was way up there. What we got here? Unbury him.
Yeah, that lure just barely slapped the water and it was just bam, huh?
You know, and I tell you what, I love lakes where you can put the trolling motor down to the boat ramp and basically just drive around the lake. And you know, whenever you can bank fish, to me that just makes it so much easier. But yeah, respectable fish. You know, typically if you don't have a lot of fishing pressure, that's when you can really bank fish, because you know, the thing about bank fishing is everything is so obvious. So you get a lot of fishermen on a lake, you got to outthink other fishermen. This isn't the case. You just fish fishy spots and they have bass on them.
There we go.
There you go, Tony. There, nice fish.
Oh, he came flying out and smoked it.
Oh, that's a beauty. That's a beauty. There.
Yeah.
Nice work.
You know, and this is just bank fishing, as simple as it gets. We just, we're on a body of water that I haven't fished since I was a kid. And Jason said, you know, this lake sure looks fishy. Let's give it a whirl. And we're just hitting spots that look like they should hold fish, and they are. And heck, we're the only people out here. Beautiful day.
Yeah, you know, we're not really, there's no rhyme or reason where we're finding fish though either. I mean, we're finding fish.
Covering a lot of water and just casting.
Yep, absolutely. There's a fish. Fish is...
It got you down in the slop.
It does. Let's keep winching.
Nice fish with a lot of slop.
Yeah. about 2 pounds of cabbage and coontail, and yeah, boy, fun fish. Oh, another boat, a pontoon boat. There's 2 boats out here now.
You know, we've been out here just a hair over an hour. We haven't gone quite all the way around the lake. And yeah, we've seen a couple of swimmers and now 1 pontoon boat kind of catching fish all the way along.
There's a fish. Never got to look at it.
Nice fish.
Oh yeah, there's a nice bass. That fish is dogged down. And that fish is out a little further. There we go. Nice fish. You know, we've been just kind of fan casting across large flats coming off the shoreline too, and you know, weeds are growing up 7, 8, 9 feet off the bottom all the way out to 15 feet, and so we've been even sliding out further. You know, as far as using a spinner bait like this as a search bait, you have to bank on the fact that those more aggressive fish are going to be positioned up high enough where they'll come up and grab it. And it might not be the best bait all the time for catching numbers of fish, but as far as just covering water and just seeing if anybody's home, you know, they're tough to beat. You know, as long as you got, you know, shallow patterns, shoreline patterns, less than 10 feet of water, you can just cover a lot of water and fish a lot of different types of cover.
You know, so many times people consider the lakes that have heavy weed growth with the lily pads and the shallow, warmer water. You got the pencil reeds coming up, that those are the lakes that you want to go and hit bass on. And one of the most overlooked things that people miss out on is a lot of times these little bit deeper, clearer lakes that you know, maybe don't have the emergent weed growth, but have those weeds that are, you know, down there 14, 15 feet. You know, they're holding fish, and a lot of times these bass haven't been fished, haven't been touched. And you know, with this lure, we can get right down there, we can let it flutter down and then start reeling it in, and we're getting fish, you know, right above the weeds, but those weeds aren't the typical weeds that guys are usually targeting.
You know, this particular lake that we're on, it's almost 70 feet deep. Doesn't look like your typical bass lake, but it's got quite a few bass in here. And every lake ecosystem is going to be different, but I tell you what, when you don't have a lot of walleyes in a lake, in particular a lot of pike in a lake, you know, we'll find these bass, you know, hanging out in this deep coontail, for example, you know, way out into deep water. You know, basically all these weeds seem to be holding fish. But that's what we're also finding too, though. There's no sweet spot or sweet depth, so to speak. We're finding fish up tight to the bank. We're finding fish way out from the bank, off the break, over this deep coontail. We're finding fish everywhere in between. And so it seems like just, you know, good cover, good spots hold fish, but the fish are definitely scattered. We haven't found a silver bullet, so we're just going to stick with these spinnerbaits and just keep covering water, because that seems to be the key. If every fish started coming way up on the bank, you know, there's a lot of different presentations that we could experiment with just to get more efficient, but we're just not finding that, so we're just going to keep burning these. There's a fish. You know, that's the thing when you're, you know, you're aiming at cover along the shore. It seems like as soon as you crank away from that cover, you might as well crank it in fast and get away from the boat. But what's always cool about these shallow flats like this, where there's weeds going all the way out to the boat, is that you never know. You almost have to, fish each retrieve through, because you just never know where these fish are going to come. That's a respectable fish here. Yeah, dandy bucket mouth there. Yeah, thanks for the fight. Fun stuff. You go down south with spinnerbaits, and almost every spinnerbait you're going to find is going to have a U where you tie onto, and basically when you tie direct like that with a Palomar knot or improved cinch knot, you're going to get a lot more sensitive spinnerbait. In the North Country, that loop is pretty popular, just so you can attach it to some type of a leader, because, you know, basically most of these bass lakes are going to have a lot of hammer handle pike that can cut you off. And what I'm doing here is just taking a piece of tieable titanium, Just tying just a short leader there just to make it pike proof, and in a lot of these lakes that's just going to save you a lot of tackle.
There you go.
How's that one look, Tony? Oh yeah, scrappy, scrapper?
Little scrapper. But back-to-back casts.
Yeah. This has been one of the more fishier zones we've found so far. A lot of the wind a little bit here. There's a fish. Catch up with them. Nice scrappy fish. A digger. There. There we go. Nice thick fish. Yeah, these lakes are just full of quality bass. You know, the neat thing about this, and so many of these lakes, is you can go out and catch 50 bass in a day. And tell you what, there's a lot of places I've been to around the country, you know, a lot of places down south, for example, where bass are really popular and there's a lot more fishing pressure, where people would kill to catch 50 bass a day over 15 inches. And, you know, when it comes to numbers and quality fish, you know, I don't know if there's too many places that are better than Minnesota as far as just catching a lot of nice fish. Is there a place where you catch more 10-pound fish? Absolutely. More big fish? Yeah, but you're going to be dealing with a lot more boats, a lot more pressure, and be catching a lot fewer fish a day. And so if you do love the bass fishing, you know, a lot of these Minnesota waters, you know, there's lakes all over that are great bass fishing. It's really as good as it gets.
You know, really one of the reasons these spinnerbaits shine is this particular lake that we're fishing is a deep lake. It's got a real hard bottom. We don't have the big stands of weeds. It's a lot of the submerged deeper weed lines are here. There's a little bit of weed lines up by shore we've been casting into and out of, but you know, if you're in an area that has heavy weed cover where you've got, whether it's milfoil or coontail or standing pencil reeds, anything, you know, that's where a lot of times you can get in there with a jig and a pig or a scum frog and, you know, stick up higher to the surface or right on the surface and get those fish that are feeding on top. We haven't needed to today simply because these fish are feeding fairly aggressively and we don't have the big stands of weeds to contend with.
There's a fish out of this weed flat. Fish came a little deeper. Respectable fish. Come here, girl. There. 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 Another nice bass. I mean, every fish I've caught today been on the same bait. I've thrown a few different baits, but just, I don't know. I'm a big fan of these willow leaves for this type of fishing. When you're gonna fish fast, that willow leaf, double willow leaf is just a bait. You can fish a lot of different speeds, but you can really fish it well fast. If you're gonna slow down and let that spinnerbait, you know, work down, fall through deeper weed pockets, you know, that single Colorado blade can probably be a better bet. But when it's just looking, searching, making a lot of casts and reeling that bait fast, that willow leaf handles that speed really well. From our base camp in Devils Lake, North Dakota, we travel the whole Midwest looking for the best fishing bites. If you'd like real-time fish reports, find out what bodies of water that we're fishing, just to find the general patterns and techniques that we're using, give us a like on Facebook and hit the road with Jason Mitchell Outdoors. There you go. Nice.
5 casts into that, switching up to a white spinnerbait, boy, and oh.
White is the ticket today, huh? Well, that's one thing we figured out. Oh yeah, there's a respectable fish. Yeah.
Yeah, this sure has been fun. Search and destroy, search and destroy.
Leaving the water a froth, huh?
Yeah. Wow.
Did we even start the big motor?
No. Just trolling around.
Gotta love that.
There she goes.
There's a fish. There we go. That fish read the playbook in the sense that it's just a beautiful looking deadfall right there with branches. It just looks like a fishy spot. The fish is right where it should be. There we go. Nice looking fish. There. I know, I tell you what. Come on, get out of there. Here. Respectable bass. Just nice thick fish in here. Nice thick fish. And a lot of times when we're reeling these baits in, you can see young of the year perch, young of the year bluegills. There's a lot of small fish following that spinnerbait in when you're reeling, and I've often believed that to be a good sign, whether you're musky fishing or bass fishing. Is, you know, you'll just get sometimes just in dead water where you're casting and there's just nothing happening, and then you go a mile up the lake or you get back into a different bay and different depth, what have you, and the water will be different. You'll just get more activity. There'll be just more signs of life. And let's face it, wherever you get all those young of the year perch and young of the year bluegills, that's where the predators are going to be. A lot of them just matter just trying to find out what best shorelines there are.
You know, a lot of times with bass fishing, it's easy to overthink the fish or the technique. There are so many different ways to chase bass. You know, these deeper weed beds out in 17 to 22 feet of water are prime places to set up with a Carolina rig or use some kind of a worm method to work the area. But really, year in, year out, it's tough to beat just pounding the shoreline. There's just no need to overthink it. You can go out and just cast, spend some time. Don't be intimidated by a body of water. You can pick a relatively small body of water and just go out and work the shoreline. Using a spinnerbait's a great way to just cover territory.
That was a cool strike.
Yeah, it was. He came up and kind of hit it sideways.
Yeah, that's a respectable fish.
Yeah. There he goes.
Well, it's been a great day, Tony. Feels like there's some weather moving in though, isn't there? Oh,
yeah, this, we started off hot and muggy and now it just continues to get muggy.
Yep. Oh, it's been a great day, and you know, I just love seeing people out fishing. A lot of times, like Tony just mentioned, people have a tendency to make fishing way too complicated, and last thing any of us I think should try to do is make fishing intimidating, where people think, oh, I don't have a lot of equipment, I don't have a lot of time, fishing's not something that I can get good at or not something that I can enjoy. You know, and in so many cases, that's simply not the truth. And you look at so many of these different lakes. It doesn't matter if you live in Minneapolis, if you live in northern Minnesota, even parts of southern Minnesota. You know, if you have, a lot of these lakes, whether, we're by Fergus Falls, but it doesn't matter if you're by Park Rapids, Grand Rapids, Alexandria, Minneapolis, Brainerd, Bemidji. There's all kinds of great bodies of water where you can come out and just wear yourself out catching bass. Now, obviously in Minnesota, it's the land of walleyes. A lot of people are hung up on walleye fishing. I get it, walleyes are good to eat. But the reality is that when you look at all the equipment that we have, if you're just out here to eat, it's a lot easier to just go to a restaurant or to a grocery store. I'm out here to have fun. I'd just soon eat a steak at the end of the day. And when it comes to just coming out here and having fun, it doesn't beat this. I mean, largemouths are just an incredible fish. The strikes are fun, the fights are fun. You always get some entertainment value out of this, and it just never ceases to amaze me how many of these great largemouth bass lakes you can go to. Never see a soul out here, unpressured fish. These fish make you look good, and so if you have an inkling to just to try fishing, just to get more exposed to it, to take kids out, this is just one of the greatest opportunities there is.
Dandy. There's another good one. It's just been a fun day. I mean, it's been nice fish and just fun time on a lake that neither of us had a lot of experience on, so it's been fun.
Jason Mitchell Outdoors has been brought to you by Shields, North Dakota Tourism, Yarcraft Boats, Yamaha, Onyx, Sonar Phone, Salmo, Northland Fishing Tackle, and Jason Mitchell Elite Series Rods.
To find out more information on Jason Mitchell Outdoors, make their official webpage one of your favorite pages. Find out upcoming show schedules and air times, along with past shows, article and product reviews at jasonmitchelloutdoors.com. Great information on the outdoors is just one click away.